Hello and a warm welcome to Federal special program Capital Beat. President Droupadi Murmu addressed the joint session of Parliament of the 18th Lok Sabha. She listed out various achievements of the government and to share the main highlights, she lauded the Election Commission of India for the biggest democratic electoral exercise. She spoke about the paper leaks, that was one of the major highlights, and she said that recent irregularities will be dealt with strongly, and the examination process will be improved, and there will be stringent punishment against the defaulters. Then she spoke about the criminal laws, how they will take shape from 1st of July. She spoke about how India has become the fifth largest economy after 10 years of reform. Then she spoke about how poverty alleviation is one of the major priorities of the government. She spoke about the youth, the farmers, how they are the main pillars, and the government is committed towards the welfare activities towards these sections of the poor, the farmers, youth, and the women. This is what she said. But the biggest news point which came out of her today's joint address was her reference to the emergency which was imposed in 1975 by the then Prime Minister Indira Gandhi. And she said that this was the biggest attack on the constitution, this was the biggest blot on the democracy of India. Now, everybody has been uh, citing this fact that what was the need for President Droupadi Murmu to make a reference of the emergency, especially a day after Om Birla passed a resolution in the House, and he also almost did the same. Now, this is seen as some kind of a deliberate strategy on the part of the government. But what would you really say to the key takeaways of the president's joint address? Because the opposition has called it a bundle of lies. They have junked it as a script which has been handed over to the president by the government, and she's just read out that. So we try and discuss all of this. Joining me now is Javed Ansari, senior journalist and political analyst. So thank you so much for joining. Girish Joshi, senior journalist and political analyst. So thank you so much for joining. And we have TK Rajalakshmi, who's a senior deputy editor of the Frontline magazine. Thank you, Rajalakshmi. And I'd like to begin with Javed Ansari. Javed, how would you really see the president's joint address, given the fact that there were several pressing issues? And out of so many issues on which answers were sought, she chose to speak only on the NEET issue. And that also not very convincing what she said. So, how would you look at the speech made by the president today?
Look, she was reading from a script, as all presidents do. They have absolutely no liberty at all. They have to read what is given to them by the cabinet. So that's what she did very dutifully. She mouthed everything that Mr. Narendra Modi wanted her to, as did Mr. Birla yesterday. She spoke of an issue which happened 49 to 50 years ago. 65% of Indians are below the age of 30. They were not even born there then. They don't even know what this was about. Yet she chose to speak about an event that happened 49 years ago, but consciously, deliberately chose not to mention Manipur, which is still burning today. So, and of course, the rest of the speech was just patting herself on the back. Uh, the government patted itself on its back, which is the easiest thing to do. We are legends in our own mind. We have already become an economic superpower. We are the third largest economy in the world. Uh, this despite the fact that out of our population of 1.4 billion people, 800 million still need to be given free rations. So this despite the fact that there are millions who are unemployed. This despite the fact that the farm sector, that the farmers are aggrieved, that students are on the roads, that papers are being, that we can't even conduct she we can't even conduct a proper leak-free exams, and we want to conduct one nation, one polls. So I am. So I'm not. It was lackluster. What was new? There was nothing new in it. What was new is not true. What is true is not new. It's. I'm not in the least surprised. What did take me by surprise was Mr. Om Birla, and it does show. It just confirms my fears that the government that there is no new beginning, that the government will continue in the same vein as it let off before the elections to the 18th Lok Sabha. It will be more confrontation, more aggression, more, and once this session gets over, you will see that they will resort to their own ways. As it is, they have done it. The deputy speaker's post will not come to the opposition. It might go to JDU, it might go to TDP, it might go to any Tom, Dick, and Harry, but it will not come to the opposition. So no norms, not an inch will be given, and they will fight for every blade of grass, and and the opposition needs to be prepared for this. I think Rahul Gandhi got it absolutely spot on by contesting the speaker's election. Everybody knows the numbers are with the government, but at least you need to show the flag. You need to make a point. You need to register your protest, which they did so, and rightfully so.
Absolutely. Now, Girish, I'll come to you. Now, Droupadi Murmu also spoke about the fact that, the citizens have elected a majority government. Now, many opposition leaders have been saying that it looks like, she's lifted the speech from last time, and saying that, it's a majority government, knowing very well that BJP is in a minority. They've cobbled up the numbers and formed an alliance.
If I can interject, it's a minority government with majority support.
Yes, that's what opposition has pointed out, and that's what I was asking you, Girish. That it does it look like an old script, which has just been tweaked here and there, but it's almost like a lift off of what she said last time.
As Ansari Sahab very rightly said, that there are some points which were not necessary in this speech, particularly the emergency thing. But because Modi had raised the flag outside the parliament before taking the oath, so everybody knew that this is the flute that we all are going to play, and they have started doing it. Now, one thing is, if that they were so serious, she should have also appreciated the division of Pakistan, making of Bangladesh. If she had been so interested in telling the history of India, so that let the people know. Now, if you see the points that she had done, how is she trying to cover the all drawbacks or leave away of Modi? Northeast is saying स्थायी शांति की स्थापना की प्रयास किए जा रहे हैं. What prayas? No details on that. Mahila Sashaktrikaran, the Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha, there is a lot of female members coming in. How does that help? What has happened to free electricity, free gas? She had totally just taken the propaganda agenda of BJP and she started speaking about. But something she's missing out. What she indirectly wanted to tell is that misinformation should be checked. This is the last what she said in a very short thing, but that was very important. What are they going to do to check this? Because 1st of July, we are now going to get that new criminal laws and civil laws. In that, they have very well placed that zero number FIR can be filed at zero number anywhere in India against anybody. Now, what does this say? 2nd July, Rahul Gandhi being called at Varanasi. Right. Even Ajay Rai, there has been case which Supreme Court yesterday refused to bail out, telling that some Gunda Dhara Act, some cases have been filed. Now this is their modus operandi. In Gujarat also we have seen anybody from any corner would just file a case against the opponent, and immediately police becomes active and things go on. So these things are going to go on now with a powerful, because we have seen after support, Chandrababu Naidu and Nitish have gone totally silent. Neither they're talking in the support. So what has happened? It doesn't happen that we will have to file a habeas corpus to find these two guys, whether they are still there. This is the position of India. Opposition is not going to really, they will do their job. But I think blessing it, these guys can be the leader of opposition. He now will have to at least go into the committee. He can search for the papers, what has transcript. So this is the big fear. And as I was telling on some other program, that this is a Gujarati nature. I can talk against you only in your absence, not in your presence. The way he, responded to Rahul Gandhi's arriving, a handshake and then waiting for him. So once Rahul Gandhi is present there, he will be very, very hesitant, because we know his nature. He is not able to face the opponents. He can never face. The only reason for not doing press conference was his nature. He can't stand for the questions that come on upon him. So things are moving. Now we will have to just see what is the behavior of the speaker. Now again they have come to their own and they have got a very good mouthpiece, that is Chirag Paswan. See, he was literally defending. He does not know what were the opposite parties fighting for. India Alliance was fighting for the downtrodden, for the Dalits. What has he done? He has gone on that side. Suddenly he speaks into the parliament that एक उंगल उधर करोगे तो चार आपकी तरफ आ रही है. आपके शासित राज्यों में स्पीकर और डेप्यूटी स्पीकर आपका है. Why does he need to give an explanation on behalf of BJP? That is because वो चमचागिरी, that is this basically it is chamchagiri. What has happened? Only their party has helped the BJP to come into power. What has Mayawati done in UP? 33 seats she has affected. Do the Dalits and these people do not know that whom they are fighting for. Once they come into power, they forget their Dalits, they forget who's fighting for whom, what are the causes. So these things are going to now, mix up. Lot of things will come up, but only ray of hope is that leader of opposition will bring out the things which they were always trying to hide for last 10 years under anything that they were doing.
Right. But Rajlakshmi, looking at the other points which Droupadi Murmu had mentioned, now she's saying that this Lok Sabha will see the 75th anniversary of accepting the constitution. The budget will have historic announcements. Reforms will be accelerated. Competitive cooperative federalism shall be there. राज्यों के विकास से देश का विकास होगा. This is what she says. Then reform, perform, transform. Fastest growing economy of the world. We jumped from 11th to 5th in the world in terms of economy. Now, opposition has said that where on earth have we reached? Are the GDP numbers the only indicator to show that we are now the fifth largest economy in the world? The economy hasn't helped the farmers, it hasn't helped the poor. And this is what Samajwadi Party President Akhilesh Yadav also raised this point, that the president's speech looks like a bundle of lies.
Yeah, I mean, I think, if there was any semblance of even sort of understanding, what the mandate has meant, right? Her speech should have, in fact, reflected those things, because it's a fact that people's, livelihood concerns were a result of which this mandate was produced, in which the BJP got only 240 seats, and it could not form the government on its own, and therefore, I mean, I think a speech read more like the BJP's election manifesto. I
Hmm.
mean, for instance, where you make lots of claims, you make a lot, big, you claim that you've achieved so much, you obfuscate the truth. I mean, it doesn't reflect what's really happening on ground, and ultimately those things, it appeared. I mean, they're reflected in the form of the mandate. So here, I mean, here at least the president's speech should have taken cognizance of all those things and not really, sound like a like a manifesto, sound like an election manifesto of the BJP essentially, and about his claims about growth and everything. If I mean, it's just recently, that the mandate was delivered. So so on the same basis and claims, this party went to elections, and it was shown that it did not receive the mandate to govern this country. I mean, it did not receive, the majority mandate to govern this country, and therefore some introspection should have been expected. And again, I mean, in fact, need to just look at what's happening today. I mean, in almost every BJP ruled state, there have been attacks, on minorities. I mean, if you accuse, the Congress, on one hand of undermining uh, undermining the constitution, right? There's also need to ask, as to what is happening in those in some of the states, uh, where still, homes are being, bulldozed, where again, people are being targeted for alleged grounds of, keeping certain kinds of meat in their homes, or on grounds of, cow smuggling, etc. We have, vigilantes on the roads today who lynch people at the smallest pretext. I mean, is this where our constitutional democracy is actually headed? I mean, aren't these concerns that a president's speech ought to speak, and reflect, right? The fact that intolerance is still there, isn't that a thing to be addressed? the fact that the topmost leader, of a particular party, he just he sort of demonized, a particular community in his election speeches, continuously. Doesn't that undermine the constitution? I mean, of course, it did undermine, the MCC, the Model Code of Conduct, but we all know that nothing really happened. So she spoke about, that we should do things which do not undermine, undermine the democracy, which do not undermine our constitution, and we shouldn't do things that hurt the faith of people in, democratic institutions or electoral processes. Okay? All these things that the opposition has been accusing the BJP of doing. It's like a classic case, of the pot calling the kettle black, whatever that phrase is, right? So here was something, there was no sort of acknowledgement about why, this kind of a mandate came about. There was no acknowledgement, what is sort of presently happening, and the challenges ahead. I mean, for instance, I mean, this whole talk about, authoritarianism, the emergency represented authoritarianism, dictatorship, and all that. Yes, it was, and it's been condemned, and been condemned all these years by all, political parties. But then we have to also ask, whether this demonetization, wasn't that I mean, a kind of a kind of an authoritarian, dictatorship, imposed on the people of this country. I mean, in fact, what is the lockdown, where in fact, no notice was given? Two CMs, continue in jail today, right? And two, in fact, ministers, of a particular government, the Delhi government, continue to be in jail today, right? And then this whole attacks, on on minorities in this country, the use of the, the use of UAPA again. So I do not think that this government is in a, let's say, in a position, or has, the moral authority to talk to people, to tell people about safeguarding, democracy, or not, undermining the constitution, or democracy, because this is what they have been exactly doing since the last 10 years. And as things happen, I think they will sort of continue to do. When they talk about, economic reforms, it's clearly going to translate into attacks on workers, the rights of workers, the the rights of labor, and to make, ease of industry even more easier. And so I do not think that there is actually going to be any serious introspection on this entire, trajectory of development that this government has embarked upon, or had embarked upon, 10 years ago. This whole extractive form of development, you know. I mean, I do not see any significant change there. And therefore, the speech, as Javed said, was absolutely vacuous. There was, in fact, nothing in it. And yes, the speaker also showed, his partisan side. I mean, so entirely by again focusing, on the excesses of the emergency, as as a means to attack the Congress. Essentially, it was just that. I mean, I do not think that this government would do, anything different from what happened 49 years ago, and it's continuing to do. I mean, I'm saying that the emergency was only for 2 years. I mean, people have been enduring here in this country for the last 10 years. So, so in terms, duration itself, there is, mismatch. And yes, people have learned from the lessons, what happened 49 years ago. But I do not think this government and this particular political party has really any intentions of learning anything from that experience. Yeah.
Right. But Javed, given the fact that now today she was also the President Murmu also spoke about reforms in armed forces, and at that time opposition raised slogans on Agniveer. So Agniveer problem the government hasn't acknowledged. There was no word of unemployment. There was no word on Manipur, as we've already discussed. So basically, government continues to be in a complete disregard of the mandate they have got. They've refused to acknowledge the problems which exist. And so is the message very, very clear from President's speech that the government will continue in its own autocratic style, the way they have governed in the last 10 years. And whether they've got a fractured mandate, whether it's a minority government with majority support, it doesn't make a difference at all.
Well, I unmistakably, I have I don't even have an iota of doubt that there'll be any change in the manner this government has functioned. They will function just the same way, in the similar vein. The very fact that they insisted on Om Birla as speaker, the very fact that they've mentioned emergency, the very fact that they got the president of India to mention emergency, this, they just want to show that this is continuity. That this is, so what we will see is more of the same. What the unfinished agenda of the previous government, they will carry, they will try and implement in this government. The only difference this time being, and a significant difference being, that now there are 234 opposition MPs in the Lok Sabha. It will not be easy, and a lot will hinge on the outcome of the assembly, forthcoming assembly elections in
No, but
Maharashtra.
even if the opposition has an increased strength, how much of the weight can they really pull when in the face of a government which is very very committed to carrying on its unfinished agendas, as you said, and it's very committed towards its own autocratic style. So how much of the weight can really the opposition pull?
I'll tell you what it can do. If if the opposition had 234 MPs in the previous Lok Sabha, the new criminal law bills would not have seen light of day. You need two-thirds majority, which they do not have. They, even if they stand on their head, they will not be able to manufacture a two-thirds majority in the Lok Sabha. So therefore, laws like this, undemocratic, autocratic measures like this, like CA, would not have seen light of day if the opposition had the numbers that it has in the present house. Of course, you can, through executive orders, through stuff like that, you can do it. But the opposition can register its protest. You can't throw out 250 MP. I mean, let me correct myself. I don't put anything past this government and the speaker. So if you can throw out 144 MPs, I'm sure they'll throw out 244 MP. But what is the message that it will send outside? Because every decision has consequences. Look what has happened. The results that have come are a result of if several of these issues coming together. And the fact is that people don't like it. If they are really that much against emergency, then why is there an undeclared emergency? Why are government agencies being weaponized? They are doing the same thing now, or they've been doing it for 10 years without declaring an emergency, which was happening when emergency was formally declared. So
Hmm.
you do away with all those undemocratic measures. So this is all lip service. Do not get carried away or taken in by all the platitudes and all this. The prime minister tries to, he can't decide for himself what's the role. Sometime he wants to be like a statesman, so he'll give some statement, and the very next moment घुसपैठिया, मंगलसूत्र चोर, भैंस चोर, नल की टोटी ले जाएंगे, वगैरह वगैरह. I've even forgotten. I mean, the list is so long that I can't, in one breath, I can't even complete that whole thing. So his true colors, he reveals his true colors. So please don't be taken and don't be under no illusion
No, but
that
Javed, like the
there will be
question.
any change. And now he has delusions of divinity. Now
Right.
he's God's gift to India. So he's got divine powers also now, in addition to whatever little legislative numbers he has. So that now
No, but
the size
Ravi,
them.
you made an important point when you said that Om Birla, passing a resolution on the emergency was a little surprising. But shouldn't we ask a question regarding the president's office as well? That was it also driven into this BJP's political stunt on the emergency? And she made references to it. Couldn't she delete that portion, or she could have used that wisdom, or we can't question that at all?
No, no president of India has the power to delete. Whatever is approved by the cabinet, you should know the process how this president's address is. The address is prepared, and then it is put before the cabinet. The cabinet endorses it, and then it is sent to the President of India. All that the President of India has to do is put his or her signature to it, and then go dutifully in that ceremonial carriage, be taken to the to Parliament and address that joint session. She cannot even delete a comma, para, or full stop. Let's be very clear. There are no powers. They cannot. They can at best send it back for reconsideration. That is it. That's about all. But if they insist on, if the government insists on it, that is the final word. You are reading out the policy of the government as approved by the cabinet of India. That is it. Period.
Right. So, Girish, we've spoken enough about the takeaways from the president's speech today. But what do you think is the real intention, what you have gathered from president's speech? What is the intention of the Modi government? Of course, they've listed out all what they'll do, the reforms and economy and all of that, providing pakka houses. All those achievements have been listed out. But what do you think is the real intention underneath? What is the message they have tried to give to the people of the country today and to the opposition as well?
Nilu, as everything circles around emergency, I think you will have to be very cautious that possibly something is coming worse than emergency, but they will be able to justify that what happened, we told you. This is very little of what we are trying to do. This is for, see, one thing she has, if you remember, she said कि गतिरोध जो हुआ है वो विकास के आड़े आता है. So disturbance that you are creating. So I wish that everybody gets together and participates in Vikas. So all hidden messages are already revealed. So I think things are very clear, but I still have a doubt that the people who have joined them, no dinner is free on the earth. So probably if they don't start getting what they have, things are not going to get so well. Unless, because there is a possibility speaker is there, they will start breaking some 20, 30 people from other parties, and what they are famous for doing, they may try to garner and reach 272 or 273. That is the only fear that we have. But they won't do it before the three state elections. But once if they start losing these three states, they will definitely go haywire and they would start doing anything. Because now they are saved. They have got the speaker, they have got the, even the president has been certified as the yes man. So you can expect anything from that. And then the biggest help they will get is from the new criminal laws. 90 days police custody without doing it. So I think worst days are yet to come. Opposition will have to work overtime and gather the people views, get on the streets and start as they have done today for NEET. Because NEET also, she's telling that government is working on a foolproof system. This was not the cover-up that they were. So whatever the message it has been revealed.
No, there were protests happening on the paper leak, and today NSUI
It's
workers.
going on.
Yes, they've been
Yes.
lathi charged today.
No, but then president has tried to cover it, telling that they are coming up with a foolproof system. When?
Yes,
That is the question.
absolutely. So, Rajlakshmi, what would you really
Yeah.
say towards the end of this program? Your concluding remarks.
Well, I would say that the opposition has a lot on its hands because I do not think that the allies are really interested, in asserting any political or even a policy point. They're quite comfortable in their skin because they have not really said anything or spoken anything so far or expressed any kind of or expressive views in terms of at least that the government could have considered offering the deputy speaker's post to the opposition. I mean, if its whole approach was, let's say, consensus building, and conciliatory, so then who are the elements who are putting a gatiroj to the vikas of the government? It is government itself, because I do not think it wants really to see the opposition, to take the opposition on board, as far as the uh, as far as the issues concerning the country are, because one can't say that it is only that the government knows what is good for the country, because the opposition also sort of represents the people of this country, and they would be representing the interests of people of this country too, and therefore I think it would have been sort of charitable for the government to offer the post of the deputy speaker's of the deputy speaker to the opposition, and which could have sort of marked a step ahead. But
Right.
clearly, this focus on the emergency to attack the Congress, this complete obfuscating of what's really happened or what's really happening on ground, and plus the fact that again these new criminal laws which are extremely draconian, and then you have the Telecom Act which has been, I think, partly notified recently, which gives full freedom to the government to intercept
Absolutely.
messages on grounds of public safety, etc. And so I'm saying all these things are going to happen. They're going to intensify, and we need the opposition to again sort of take these issues to the people on ground. It's not just enough to take these issues on the floor of the house, but they have to sort of take these issues to the people on ground, whether it's to do with the attacks on minorities, or on the attacks on people's livelihoods also, and everything else related with it. So these two things
Absolutely.
have to happen coterminously. It can't be sort of independent of each other. It has to.
Absolutely. So the beginning has been full of friction, and what started as a flashpoint on the post of the pro tem speaker, then on the election of the speaker, then the mention of emergency, now with the president's address, and now I think the next flashpoint, of course, would be the post of the deputy speaker, over which the government is very tight-lipped. But in all probabilities, as what Javed said, and also what the murmurs in the political corridors are, that this post might not go to the opposition but to the NDA allies. So all eyes would be on how the government takes this forward. Thank you so much, Javed Ansari, Girish Joshi, TK Rajlakshmi. Thank you so much for joining